Hi, 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade leaders. We are preparing for October 21st, and we are in a series called The Promise. I'm sorry I didn't get your videos made last week. I appreciate the care and concern you guys have all expressed to me and my family as we laid Mike's mom to rest. She fought a long physical battle over many years, and so all of us are happy to know that her body is whole. While we will miss her greatly and miss her laugh and miss her care and concern for all of us, we know that she is doing all the things that she loved the most right at Jesus' feet now. As we do this next series, it's called The Promise. And I love this series. And I don't know if you have the same experience, maybe not, but I will share with you why. I love this series because to me it's looking at genealogy, and it's looking at God's promises through generation and generation and generation and generation. And I don't know if you have the legacy in your family that I have in mine, but I am so thankful to have a godly legacy in our family. The example of many of my greats who were Christ followers and servants in the church, and raised us all with the value of loving God and loving people. And so to me, what we're doing in this series helps me see that in a different way, because God made a promise. He even made the promise way back in Genesis 1 after the fall that he would make a way for us to not have a broken relationship with him anymore, and that came through the lineage and the genealogy of Abraham, that Jesus came from Abraham's family many hundreds of years later. And so it's a big what's it called? What's the website called where you can check your genealogy? It's one of those kind of stories. So our story today, last week we looked at the initial promise to Abraham. The initial promise was that God would make Abraham's descendants as vast as the number of stars in the sky. And that was going to come through Isaac, the birth of Isaac. Isaac was born in Sarah's and Abraham's when they were century-year old. And then God, in this story today, asks Abraham to take his son Isaac up the mountain for a sacrifice. And in that story, we see that God's faithfulness to Abraham, as well as Abraham's faithfulness to God, to believe that God was going to make a way, because he believed that promise that God had given him many years before, that God was going to see his family grow through Isaac. So we have large group and small group. Your social activity this month, this series, I noticed the kids are already enjoying. They have had fun with the dice game. And let me show you just real quick. Each kid should get 5 of the same color dice. So these are all of the black dice right here. They should get 5 of the same color dice. And what they're going to do is roll all of their dice. And as they roll their dice, oh wow, I got 2 2s and 3 1s. So what I would recommend to kids to do is they're supposed to keep rolling all of their dice till they get all of the same numbers. So I'm going to keep my 3 1s and keep rolling my other 2 until I get more 1s. And the goal is to do that first within the group. All right, I got another one, and so I'm going to keep rolling. Anyway, this is a fun game to keep playing over and over and over again and see who wins and how many points they can accrue over time. Remember, these games are to help us build relationships. They're there so that kids can first off, have a fun thing to do when they come in the room, but also through learning to take turns and through learning the skills that are required in a game, we're learning to interact in a small group setting that will help set them up to be able to have small group time in the future. In all small groups, there is typically always some kind of icebreaker activity, and this is your icebreaker activity. All right, then large group, and then we move into small groups. And in your small group time today, you're going to have a pink piece of paper that looks like this with some words on it, and they are some random words, and they're supposed to be random words. And what you're going to do is you're going to challenge your kids with a memory test and a physical test. So the memory test, what you're supposed to do is read all of those words. So you may not want your kids to see what those words are. Maybe slip it in your folder really quick. You want to read all of those words to them, and then they're supposed to repeat those words back to you, as many as they can get. I would recommend to you, so that kids can do this, that you are deliberate about how you say your words and that you are not being really tricky, because we do want kids to feel successful and not like they can't do anything. But some of them are going to be really good at this part, and some of them are going to be really good at the physical part. So just know that as you are pushing them to take a test. Then the physical test, and I don't know that I could do this, they're supposed to do a wall sit. And I don't know if you've done that in a while, but all you do is have the kids line their backs up against a wall, and then they are going to push their back down off the wall where their bottom doesn't touch the wall anymore, where they're kind of doing a squat. Like they're sitting in a chair, and they're supposed to be using the wall to hold themselves up. Their thighs, if they don't do this real often, are going to be burning. To pass the time while they're doing that, you may want to ask your discussion questions during the wall sit and see who can go the longest on the wall sit. We might be surprised at how many of them can do it for a long time. If there's some of them that don't want to do it, they don't have to. It's just a good way to include everybody and give kids in your group a chance to be good at one of the things. Typically, they'll either be good at the words, or they'll be good at a physical thing. And then you can use the words that are written in your leader guide. And it says, tests are used to measure a person's knowledge, skill, physical fitness, and so on. In today's Bible story, God tested Abraham. God didn't test Abraham on his memory or his strength, although you guys were all quite good at those skills. God tested Abraham's faith. And how do you think faith gets tested is the question. And then you can share a personal story. I highly recommend that when the opportunity is written in there for you to do that, for you to share a personal story. Those help your kids realize that you're real and that you're learning and growing and figuring things out about God as well. And then you can wind it up and let them know, that God has kept his promises, if that's what you learned in that test. Or, I would expect that most of you would know that God, through most any test or trial, or that you're still going through that. If there's some things that you have happened in your life that you don't think are appropriate to share, I trust your judgment on that and respect that as well. Then, for your memory verse activity, each week you have some little pieces of paper like this that have a blank. And the kids are supposed to write the word from the memory verse in the blank each week. Now, each week, this puzzle is different. I know it for sure is different because I made all of these puzzles. But as I learned from the person that helped put all this together, helped me cut all of the papers, that if the kids will do this activity every week, then they will truly learn all of the words, because each word is having to be separated out. Then you will pray and dismiss, Thank you guys so much for leading. Thank you for loving on our kids exactly where they are. If you need anything at any time, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. Talk to you guys soon.